A Drop in the Immense Sea of the Divine Will, by 7 Drops. Based on the writings of Luisa Piccarreta, Part 4. When the gift of the divine will was lost, man could only take possession of these created acts with the human will. This was not God's plan. This did not give God glory. So with the use of the divine will, we have to go back in our rounds and take possession of all those acts done by other people for the last 6,000 years and give them to the Father for His glory as the divine gifts He should have received. This is no small job. Except for Jesus, Mary, Luisa and the sons and daughters of the divine will, that's you, all acts since the fall in the garden were done with the human will. Even a good act done by a saint in the human will doesn't give God the glory He is due. Also, there are acts which were never done because the people who were supposed to take possession of them chose to do bad acts instead. These undone acts still exist and are suspended in time. We have to take possession of all these too and bring them into the divine will, to give to the Father. With these rounds we are working to give God the divine gifts He missed out on for the last 6,000 years. You can do these rounds on your own. If you are at Mass, you can take possession of all the acts of the people mentioned in the readings. If it is a saint's feast, you can take possession of all the acts of that saint. If you are mowing the lawn in the divine will, you can take possession of all the acts of people who have ever worked at their home. Bring everything into the divine will. Never pray for yourself. You are in the divine will and God will take care of you and all of your concerns. Always pray for all souls, past, present, and future. This is the greatest thing you can do to help others. A good way to go back through history and do rounds is to use one of the books containing Luisa's rounds of creation. Not only does she go through the 7 days of creation, but she recounts the events in the Garden of Eden, the Old Testament, Jesus and Mary's lives, and the Church. If you read these, you are doing the rounds with Luisa. Of course all of the acts done by Jesus, Mary, Adam and Eve, before Adam and Eve sinned, were done in the divine will. But we can repeat their acts with the use of the divine will, make them our own, and give them to the Father again, for His glory. God will be very pleased to receive these acts again and again. He will respond with wave after wave of grace. You can also take possession of God's very own act of creation and give it back to Him for His greater glory. There is another kind of round that helps all creatures give God glory. It was God's plan that Adam and Eve and their offspring were to act as the priests for all creation. With our voice, the birds, animals, rocks, water, stars, and all creatures were to glorify the Father. But with the loss of the divine will, man was no longer able to act as priest. He was the only creature no longer living in the divine will. So how could he be the priest for all creation? Now with the return of the gift, we can take our position as priests. In these rounds, we put our voice into the birds, water, trees, and have them give love, praise, and glory to the Father. Except for man, the rest of creation does not have a voice to do this on its own. At the most, creatures display their beauty, strength, immensity, splendor as they reflect the qualities of God and give Him glory in this way. All creation, from the greatest star to the smallest seed, has been waiting 6,000 years for the sons and daughters of the divine will, to help them fully glorify the Father. How would a bird glorify God if it had a voice? We don't know for sure, but we can imagine. God, thanks for the air that lifts my wings. This tree you made would be a great place to build my nest. Thank you for the sweet rain to soften the earth so I can find juicy worms. I'm going to fly high over your beautiful world. I love you, Father. Now as priests we can put our voice into the bird so it can finally tell God, I love you. We can do this for all creation. A very helpful round to pray is when you see or hear about someone who is suffering. Maybe you know your neighbor is sick. Maybe the TV news reported some American soldiers were killed in action. There is so much suffering in the world and it is wasted. Any suffering joined with the cross of Jesus has redemptive power. But no one takes the time to offer the suffering to the Father. The next time you see or hear of someone suffering, make a round out of it. I take Matt's suffering from the bully at school. I join it with Jesus' cross. I give it to you, Father, for your glory and for the reparation of sins of all souls, past, present, and future. May your kingdom come. No suffering should be wasted because when offered to the Father, it will become a penance for the sins we have all committed and for the souls in purgatory. When you hear of some tragedy, like someone suffering with cancer, you can pray for that person and their family. It is not always God's plan to physically heal a person because God may want that person to come to heaven. But you can always pray to have the Father use the suffering the person and the family are going through for the good of all souls. God will always answer this prayer. You will feel a great peace when you do this because you are bringing an infinite good out of a situation that may be very sad. You may wonder how you can make your prayers multiply in everyone and in all creation. How you can take Jesus and Mary's acts and make them your own. How you can put your voice in creation. How you can take possession of acts done in the past, present, and future. How you can offer other people's suffering to God. Remember the divine will is the essence of God and now you share in His divine life. Since God is everywhere, so are you. Jesus compared a soul living in the divine will to a drop of water dispersed in the immense sea of God's will. It may seem that you are only in your home or at school, but you are in all creation, past, present, and future. You are in the trees, stars, other people, souls in purgatory. This is how you can put your voice in all creation, take possession of acts, multiply acts to the infinite. Does this seem impossible to you? Nothing is impossible for God.